So tonight we're going to talk about hair. And the first time I noticed that I was losing my hair's good now. I think it's pretty good. I mean, it's just, I don't color it. I don't do it, to be honest, all I do, I do so little with my hair. It's unbelievable. And I think that's why it's been pretty good, to be honest. I actually dyed my hair once when I was about 32 because gray was starting to come in. And I said, okay, it says on the, I did it myself. It said on the package 6 weeks or 8 weeks. It started to turn gray in about 4 weeks. I said, no, I'm not doing this every 4 weeks. I don't want to do this. I stained my counter, my fingers were all stained. I said, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. So I just lived with it, and it was not necessarily in style at the time, but I wasn't self-conscious, and it's not like it really looked bad, so I didn't have to worry about it too much. And I actually think the key, not that we need to talk about beauty tonight, but since we're talking about hair, that the key to gray hair, I really think the way you make gray hair look great is to put lipstick and earrings on. I really think that's the key. You just have to look put together. And when you don't put yourself together completely, then you don't look, as polished. So that's my take on gray hair. What I shampoo with is actually Kirk's soap, Kirk''. My father found Kirk's soap when he was in Hawaii in World War II, and it's made from coconut oil. And I get the fragrance free. I buy a case of it. We use it for soap, and I use it for shampoo. Now, here's the thing about Kirk's shampoo or Kirk's soap. It's not shampoo. It's just plain Castile soap. And I get the bar and I just rub it all over. Is that when you rinse it out, especially if you have hard water, your hair will feel like straw. I mean, it's horrible feeling unless you pour vinegar on top of your head. And so that's what I do. I use raw vinegar. I keep it in a pretty little bottle in my shower, and I pour some of that on my head, and then I rinse most of it off. And vinegar can help with hair growth. Some say, I don't know how valuable that is. I mean, there are a lot of those kinds of tips around. And I'm going to be honest, I find that a lot of home remedies just are not, well, nothing's as effective as homeopathy. Let's just face it. Nothing is as effective as homeopathy. So tonight we're going to talk, let me get my materia medica out. We're going to talk, here's my materia medica. For those of you who are interested, you can purchase this on my site, or you can call my office. And you see all my notes. I've got tons of notes. I've got my own personal notes and notes to teach folks about these medicines. And that's why I set it up this way, with all this space, so that you have lots of space to write. So I urge you to do that. That's how you're going to remember how what medicine acted and what date it was that the medicine acted and on whom in your family it acted. So we are going to go to a medicine tonight that is not homeopathic, but I do have it in my materia medica because I feel very strongly about it. The name of the medicine is Equisetum, Equisetum, Equisetum. It's also called horsetail. Now, when you buy it, I like to buy Herb Farm. This is not homeopathic. I like to buy Herb Farm, and the common name is horsetail. Horsetail used to grow around my house when I lived in Colden, New York, and it looks fluffy like a tail and feathery, and I used to collect it and make tincture out of it, and that's what this is a tincture. So what I have done in the past is I've gotten, make sure it's all, what am I saying? It's all shaken up so that you're getting all the goodness from the bottom coming up to the top. I don't know that there really is anything that's settled to the bottom. And then I get a dropper and I've got my water here, and I just drop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's about 20 drops. I don't count, because to be honest, when you squeeze the pipette and you squeeze it and then put it in and then lift it up, that's automatically generally about 20 drops. And I mean, I could put even more in. In fact, I will, because I have a full glass of water here today. And so one day I noticed when I was in the produce section of the grocery store, you know how the the produce is all laid out, and then above it is a mirror that's on an angle. And if you look up, you can see you can see your scalp. And it just flabbergasted me. I couldn't believe how thin my hair had gotten on top. And it was several years ago. So I did a couple of things, but this was the I believe the most valuable thing I used for my hair. Now, it didn't happen overnight. I'm going to be honest with you. I took it every single day. In fact, I kept it on my desk just like this. And every time I had a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, a glass of water, I would put about 10 drops in there. So I was getting it 2-3 times a day. It's also great for, this happens to be, equisetum is also an excellent medicine for the bladder. So if you also happen to have bladder problems, it's a great medicine for that. So what happened to my hair then? Well, the first thing I noticed, and I'm telling you my story, but I deal with clients all day, 5-6 days a week. And what I noticed for my own hair is that it stopped falling. I mean, I'd get 1 or 2, but it was at one point where every time I turned, I'd have to pull off more hair. And it was maddening. It wasn't just in the shower. The other thing I might add is that I stopped washing my hair daily. I think that we overwash our hair. And I think it's, unless you have a real problem with oily hair, I think we can get away with washing our hair every several days, not even every other day, but even every several days. Now, obviously, if there's an odor, then you're going to do it more frequently. But to be honest, I really think most people can get away with that. Maybe not teenagers, because they're going through such a big hormonal shift. So that's the first thing I noticed, is that the hair stopped falling. The next thing I noticed was that my hair just seemed to get thicker. I could feel it back here. I could feel it in here. It felt better to me. And then when I looked up at the mirror in the produce department, I was always afraid to do that. In fact, I steered clear of it. I actually didn't buy produce in that section because I was too tempted to look up. So I would buy the produce all in the other areas where there was no mirror. I did not want to see it again. Women have told me through the years as clients that they suffer from hair fall. Alopecia is when it's more clinical. But I said, yeah, that sounds like it's really awful. But when it happens to you, it's downright frightening, because a woman's hair is very important to her. And so I like this medicine. So what I do with this herb, I just drink it. Just like I'm having because I'm having a glass of water. And when I drink you can taste it a little bit, but it doesn't taste awful. And if you're accustomed to using botanicals, it's a great, it just falls right into place. Okay. Now, sometimes women and men, more often women, have problems with thyroid. And the thyroid is the reason for the hair loss and the thinning. I have talked about thyroid on my blog. I won't go into it deeply now, because I know you can go right to the blog and or you can just go online, Joette Calabrese, thyroid, hypothyroidism. And you'll find out exactly the medicines that I've used for it. But I caution you. And so what I mean by that is, if you don't have low thyroid, if you don't have those numbers, or you've not been to a doctor and you really don't know, it hasn't been established clinically and through your blood labs, then I would urge you not to do that. Because I'm going to remind you that homeopathy is medicine. And when we use medicine incorrectly, can cause trouble. Will it be long-term trouble? Probably not. But we don't want even short-term trouble. So anything you take daily, anything you do daily matters. If you pray every day, it will change who you are. If you indulge in pornography every day, it will change who you are. If you take something every day, whether it's a birth control pill or antibiotics or steroids or bioidentical hormones, if you do that every day, it will change your makeup on some level. So we always try to go for those substances that are innocuous and that are correct. And so if you don't have hypothyroidism and yet you insist on taking the thyroid medicines that I discuss on the blog, you can cause hyperthyroidism, which means your heart could start thumping. You could feel sensations of pressure in your eyes. There could be a lot of concerns. So make sure that if you decide to do that, that you know what you're doing. And it's the way you know what you're doing is that you have the blood tests. The hormone levels are taken by your doctor. That's where you want to go with this. You don't want to guess. Now, when it comes to equisetum or horsetail, it's a little different. Although this is acting like a medicine, it really is, it's an herb. And it's a little different. And so herbs can cause trouble. There's no doubt about it if they're used injudiciously. But this one is generally, I consider, I'm not going to guarantee anything, but I consider this one pretty innocuous. It's got a lot of silica in it, by the way, and silica is what often has to do with hair loss or hair growth in the opposite direction. And after the hair stops falling, and it can take weeks, months, I tell you, months. It could take 2 months before you start seeing a shift. It could take even 3 months before you see growth. It could take 6 months before you say, not only do I see growth, but I see thickening. That's what we're looking for. Now, there are other homeopathic medicines that we can use for alopecia. I don't want to get into them too deeply now because that's a whole lesson. But I want to tell you that if this doesn't act and you have a thyroid condition and you use the thyroid medicines, although they usually do act when used properly, then we have other medicines that we can use for hair loss. I also want to remind those who sometimes when people have chronic conditions, the hair loss is I'm going to say, this is my theory. I can't prove this. But when the body is working so hard to deal with, say, rheumatoid arthritis or asthma, and we're talking about chronic, pretty severe case of it, the hair is secondary, if not tertiary, in the body's level of where the nutrients will go. My sense is that the body's working hard to deal with the condition at hand, the most sobering condition. And as that sobering condition corrects, of course, through homeopathy, that the hair starts to grow inadvertently, or the hair loss halts and then the hair starts to grow. Sometimes it's only alopecia. I have to admit, there are people who simply have alopecia. I've seen it in children. I've seen it pretty extremely in children. In India, I saw it several times in Calcutta, children who completely lost their hair. Could be a nutrient concern, could be from an old infection. There are many causes, and I don't know that I know them or that we necessarily even need to know what they are. So at best, you try this. Then I also want to recommend that you stay with a whole foods diet. Eat as little processed food, if at all. Make your own meals or go to restaurants that are whole, farm to table type restaurants if you can. Make sure you're eating good fats. And of course, what's a good fat? I believe a good fat is butter, unless you can't. There are people who cannot eat butter. But if you can, I cannot urge you enough to indulge and indulge heavily. Butter is very good at A, D, and E. It's very important nutrient for the skin and the hair. And you also want to eat foods that are, in my estimation, very important, which are animal products. So lamb, beef, chicken, fish, wild caught if possible, free range if possible. When people ask me this all the time, that is the diet that I think is probably the best. But I say probably because no one truly knows with an absolute scientific study that determines exactly the diet that we know to be right for all people across the board. We really don't know. Too many variables. And I don't care what the China study says, which I don't agree with, but I trust Dr. Weston Price for nutrition. But even in the Weston Price work, there are still some holes, especially for modern day. So I believe that Dr. Price was probably the closest to the answer, but I have a few clients who are vegan and swear by it and believe that it is all they can eat and it does them good. And so I don't argue because I don't really know 100% what the answer is. It's not 100% slam dunk for me. And I must also say that when I worked with Doctors Banerjee at the Prasanta Banerjee Homeopathic Research Foundation for those 7-8 years, what I found was something rather remarkable, and that was they never discussed nutrition, or very, very rarely did they ever discuss nutrition. It was homeopathy and homeopathy only, with some herbs, some botanicals. Because first of all, there wasn't enough time, and also because there were many religions and many sects of religions, and you couldn't possibly ask someone to break their religious beliefs and eat meat or whatever. So the subject was very rarely approached. Okay, so people are asking if equisetum, or commonly known horsetail, has a flavor. It's just tincture, so it's an alcohol. If you can't have alcohol, then you can buy it in capsules. But it's not, if you put it in water, it's pretty dilute. Look how much water I have here. So I happen to put in 20 drops, but I could easily put in 10. And you'll taste it. If you put it directly in your mouth, it tastes like a tincture. And a tincture is mostly alcohol. So yes, you make it into an herbal infusion and drink throughout the day. Yes, great idea. Yeah, throughout the day. And does this reverse hair loss? Yes, it can reverse it. It can. I'm not going to tell you it works for every single person because, as I said, if it's a thyroid condition, if it's a hypothyroid condition, then that may have to be worked on first or alongside. Yes, I love to share. This is my fun. Truly, this is my fun. I only wash my hair if I get really sweaty during the day from working outside. Yep, you bet. I think we've overwashed. Okay. And does this work for men? Yes, it can work for men. Absolutely. Hi, Judy. Can you just put the drops right into your mouth? Yes, you can. You certainly may, but I think most people would not want to. But I know you, Michelle. You could do that. Will it cause hair to grow in other areas? I have never seen that happen. In other words, will it cause hair to grow on the face or the arms, places where we women don't want it? No, it's for head hair. It's not that it knows where to go. It's that it's got silica, and silica is usually the reason that hair falls. And that I also find that because silica is not being absorbed properly, and this reestablishes it. It's just a guess of mine that could be part of the problem. By taking in foods with higher amount of silica, such as equisetum, it's not going to force it. Because you see, herbalism and homeopathy are gentle paradigms. They don't manipulate the way drugs do. Drugs manipulate. All drugs, excuse me for being so bold, all drugs are poisons. It doesn't mean they don't have a value. They still can have a value, but they have a poisonous aspect to them, and those poisons are shown in side effects. So if you're going to have a tooth extracted, do you want to feel the pain, or do you want a little poison, the local anesthetic or general anesthesia? if it's going to be surgery, I'm taking general anesthesia. And it's weighing out the value and the detriment. So that is the way we always weigh out when we use drugs. There's good drugs, there are bad drugs, but all drugs, in other words, they're good or bad in usage in our lives. So we want to use them very judiciously and save the use of drugs for occasions when we must use them, such as surgery. For an automobile accident and you're in the car and your arm is across the street, you're going to want some general anesthesia to go into surgery for that. Is it safe for pregnancy and nursing? I can't say that. I don't know the answer to that. I would personally take it during nursing and not give it a thought. But I can't say that I know that I know all the answers to that. Where can we find this? Oh, you can buy this on Amazon. You can buy it through, or you can buy it at health food stores, at Whole Foods, etc. All right. I'm a hairdresser, and we did learn that hair and nails are the last to get nutrients. Yep, when they are needed elsewhere in the body. You bet. That's true. And by the way, speaking of nails, this herb will likely help nails and skin as well. All right. What else do we have? Let's see if any other questions. A friend has almost no hair, very thin, and she will only drink Pepsi. Will this work if the soda, or will the acids kill it? I don't know. But she might want to consider stopping the Pepsi. She might want to drink raw milk. I'm serious. Get to a really good farmer that she can count on. Or kefir. Or kombucha. Kombucha is a way that I've encouraged folks to stop drinking sodas on a regular basis, because kombucha has that same bite, little sparkle, and some sweetness to it. So kombucha would be a good idea. Hi, Joette from Hudson Valley. Hi. And let's see. Reminds me of a quote. If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always had. It's true. Absolutely true. I'm going to change my glasses. Where did I put them? I can't read this as well with these glasses. I can see these fine until, wow. Wow, what a big world we've got. Okay. If your hair is thinning, but you have difficulty with excess facial hair, will equisetum cause an issue? I don't believe it will. Interestingly, with all the silica that is in here, silica is one of the medicines that we use for hirsutism. So it could actually potentially help with hirsutism. Thank you so much. Use the protocol. Made my own tincture. My hair stopped falling and is growing. God bless you. You bet, Nina. Good job. So there's somebody who's already used it and has found it to be very helpful. Why can you take so much of this? I don't know. It's an herb. I don't think you have to worry about it too much. Dr. Michael Gregor will share the science on why a whole food, plant-based vegan diet is best. I'm sure he will. There are plenty of doctors who believe vegan diet is the best, and I tend to absolutely disagree. I was on a vegan diet for years. I was in the vegan movement. I subjected my poor first son to a vegan diet, and I can't tell you, I'm not going to go into it, it's too personal, of the kinds of sufferings that he experienced as a result of that diet. But if somebody else wants to try it, go for it. Okay, can you find it at Fresh Produce would you always put tinctures into water? Not always. And can you find it at the produce fresh to make a tea from it? I've never seen it fresh because it's wild, and generally wild plants you don't find very readily. If my hair fall as a result of PCOS, will this help stop it? No, you have to go after the PCOS. It doesn't mean that this won't help at all, but if you really want to get to the bottom of it, you're going to have to tackle that polycystic ovarian syndrome. And that is covered should you be interested in my course, step by step and how to address that in my course titled Feminopathy. You can get that on my website. If one does have clinical hypothyroidism, could this equisetum be used alongside your recommended protocol? You bet. yes, to correct the hypothyroidism. Absolutely. You can take it right along. Or do you have other suggestions? Thank you so much for all of this. You are welcome. What brand do you recommend? Well, this one happens to be Herb Farm. I like Herb Farm. I also like Gaia, Gaia, and Richter's. I think it's RickTers, and they're in Canada. I've bought from them through the years. Okay, when they put someone on Bovista, the Banerjees never even hinted at watching wheat consumption. That's right. How do you tell someone who lives in a village where all they eat is wheat? You tell them to move from the village. You tell them to find another job. You tell them to leave their ancestral life. You don't even approach that. No, there's no point in doing that. Because the reason that I tell people to watch out for wheat if they're noticing there's a problem with it is because we have the ability to do so. But in many parts of the world, that's what they've got to eat. So how about silica supplements? Yuck. I do not like supplements. I'm going to be honest with you. I do not like supplements. All right. I did not find Bovista. I just missed that. In the only place I find, did not find Bovista in the only place I find homeopathy. You're looking for Bovista. Well, if you're a student or a client of mine, you can get it through OHM, but I'm pretty sure you can get it also through Boron. And remember, through Boron, you get a discount. If you put in when you go down and you're ready to pay, there's the little box. You put my name, Joette, Joette, and you will get a discount. I get no kickbacks. This is not a program where I get paid back. It's just to give you a discount. Please, could you tell me the name of the product manufacturer? Yeah, that's Herb Farm. Herb, Herb, Farm, Pharm. Herb Farm. Farm like pharmacy. I think we've got it. It is now 8:30. I have to dash off. I'm teaching a study group, and it's always wonderful to see everyone. I hope I answered enough questions so that you can get through this. And I find a lot of people answer others' questions. So feel free to stay there and just watch what everyone else says, because I have a lot of incredibly knowledgeable followers. I am very blessed. So with that, folks, I wish you a good night, and mwah, God bless you all. Bye.